Hey, mamas. This episode is coming at you a little early since tomorrow is a holiday. I plan on going to church and spending the day with my family. So happy Easter, a little early to you guys. And happy 420 for all my gardening listeners out there. But before we kick this episode off, I got a question for everyone. Have y'all ever had one of those moments where everything feels like it's finally lining up, it's finally coming together, and then out of nowhere, life just snatches it back, snatches that rug from under you? Or is that just me? So you've never found yourself sitting in the quiet, questioning everything you thought you were so sure about, wondering if you still enough, if you still whole, if you're still worthy, or anything like that? Even when the story doesn't play out the way that you dreamed it would? Well, this episode right here, this is one of the hardest ones that I will probably ever record. But I know I'm not the only one who's felt this kind of heartbreak or guilt or this kind of pressure to be perfect. So if you've ever doubted your worth as a person, as a human, as a mom, as a woman, as a man, and you're just trying to keep it together, this episode's for you. Hope you enjoy. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Still a Good podcast. For those of y'all who don't know, this is a space that I've created where we can get real about pretty much anything, but especially motherhood and self-worth and all the messy things in between. So come on in and kick your shoes off, have a seat, and put the baggage down from the week, and let's just talk. Let's just yap, okay? I'm your host and your mom friend, B. Lene, and if you're new here, I'm so glad that you found this space. And before we start anything, I want to thank you so much for the overwhelming support from the drop of the podcast. From my friends to my family to complete strangers, just thank you. I appreciate you all for sharing, for tuning in, for liking, for subscribing, for all of the things. Just thank you so much. So this is episode 2. We're going to call it The Myth of the Perfect Mom. And if you listen to episode 1, you already know that this podcast was born from my own journey of wondering if I was enough, of feeling like I needed to be perfect. And today I want to talk about something that I know every mom wrestles with, and that's that myth of being the perfect mom, hence the title of today's episode. We know that this is impossible, right? That it's exhausting. It's like a never good enough version of ourselves that we keep chasing. In a recent interview that I saw Michelle Obama do, she said something that really stuck with me. And she said something along the lines of, we as women struggle with the thought of disappointing. And boy, oh boy, does that resonate with me. And to be honest with y'all, because that's all I want to do, this episode hits so deep for me because recently I went through something that made me question yet again if I was enough. It made me question if I was a good mom, if I was being a good wife, and I just felt like I was a huge disappointment to my family. And so I want to place a trigger warning on this episode before we get started. I will be talking about loss and grief a little bit. And without giving too much away, I'll be talking about pregnancy and the complications that can be attached to that. So let's just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and get started. Yeah. So I'll start with earlier this year. So earlier this year, my husband and I found out that we were expecting. And for us, this was a huge deal because we had been, trying to conceive and doing all the things, taking the supplements, tracking, timing, baby dancing all the time. And if you don't know what baby dancing is, just take a minute to read in between the lines. And I'm sorry for my parents and my family that's listening, but anyway, we grown, right? But anyways, in that moment of finding out that we were expecting, like, it was filled with so much joy, so much hope, right? Because this was something, even though my husband has stepped in and been a great bonus dad, or only dad really, for Lyric, he doesn't have any biological children. So it just felt great to like be able to start that journey together. And then also for me on my end, my first pregnancy just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't fun. Even though it ended with such a great blessing, such a beautiful miracle, my baby. The actual journey of it just wasn't what I thought it would be. And so it felt like this was a chance to do it all over again with somebody that I know loves me as much as I love him, right? And so I got my positive pregnancy test and I told my husband, and we were happy and excited, and we started imagining what life would be like, how Lyric would react to being a big sister, and just how our family was going to start growing. So we started the journey, right? We had doctor's visits and ultrasounds, and we even started telling our family and friends. But just as quickly as the joy came, it seemed to have been like ripped from under us like a rug. And when I say this is recent, I mean super recent. So if I get emotional at all, I apologize now. Just bear with me, because it's still, kind of new. So on March 17th, I had an appointment for an ultrasound. They wanted to see the baby's heartbeat, because I was so early on. We weren't trying to listen for the heartbeat. We just wanted to see it, right? So by this time, I think I was about 7, maybe 8 weeks. And so the baby's heartbeat should have been very strong, very present. And I went into my doctor's office like normal. And, I remember laying on the table, and my nurse, shout out to my nurse, Lee. She always says, during ultrasounds and things, she's always like, I'm going to be quiet. Don't take that any type of way. But y'all know me, I like to yap. And the girls in the office, we have a great relationship. So we talk a lot. But I remember thinking, man, she's like really quiet today. Like, she's more quiet than usual. And, it turned out that she didn't see a heartbeat. And so that ended up leading to an entire week of doctor's visits and ultrasounds and being poked and prodded. And if you've ever gone through any type of medical issue or whatever, you know how draining mentally, that could be. But I remember sitting in the doctor's office, after tests and blood work and everything, and hearing him say that, eventually I was going to have a miscarriage. Like, my baby was still there, but my HCG levels, which is the levels that grow, your hormone levels that continue to grow the further along you are, my HCG levels were moving, but they were moving very slowly. They weren't doubling. And that eventually I was going to have a miscarriage. And I just remember feeling real numb. And I know that sounds real cliche, but it was just like, okay, like, what do I do with that information? And it just didn't seem real. But then I had to, tell my husband, and I had to explain it to him, and like what it meant and what was going to happen. And that's when it started to feel real. That's when it really hit me and I broke. Like, I felt like my body had failed me. Worse than that, I felt like I had failed my family, and like I had let my husband down, because here he was so excited about his first biological child, and I just felt like I couldn't do that right. I felt like I had let Lyric down. And even though I knew logically, right, that this isn't the end, we can always try again, I knew logically that this wasn't my fault. The guilt was still there. And I kept replaying, and I still do some days, when I'm just thinking and alone. I kept replaying every little thing that I did, every meal that I ate, every moment that I was like stressed. I just wonder if I could have changed the outcome in some way. And of course, I couldn't have, right? And of course, like the doctors say, as early as I was in pregnancy, there wasn't anything that could have been done. But I was beating myself up like pretty bad about it for a while. And that's why if you saw my recent anniversary post from my husband, I thanked him for picking me up off the floor, because he literally did that. Like, literally picked me up off the floor and filled me with the positivity that I could not find on my own. But yeah, so I ended up having a DNC procedure, and those of y'all who don't or are not aware of what that is, it's, the removal of the baby, like an abortion, but done for medical reasons. And that day was crazy. But thanks to my husband and, my family, my support system, I was able to get through it. And it was an experience. It was quite an experience. But y'all let me know in the comments if you want me to go into any details about that. And also let me know if there's any ladies out there who've experienced, a miscarriage or a DNC. And if there's any fellas listening that had to support their ladies through that, because you guys are just as strong, and it was quite a bonding experience. Like, I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, so anyways, in the days that like followed the procedure and, everything that came with it, I realized something, that myth of the quote unquote perfect mom, the idea that we're supposed to always have control, always be strong, always get it right, it's such a lie, and a dangerous, soul-crushing lie, right? Because the truth is, being a mom or a woman doesn't mean you're never experiencing loss. It doesn't mean you'll never experience failure or heartbreak. If anything, it means that you experience it, 10 times more often. Our bodies are not machines, and neither are our minds. These are things I have to tell myself all the time. And even in those moments when my husband was wiping my tears, I was feeling like I shouldn't be sad. Like, I need to get up and get through it. I'm mom. I need to get over this and get my house in order. But that way of thinking was unfair to me, to my family. And being a mom doesn't mean we have to carry it all without breaking, without feeling sad. It doesn't mean we have to be superhuman. It just means we keep showing up, even when it hurts, even when it's hard, even when we don't feel like enough. We just keep at it. Fake it till you make it type of stuff, But I remember one night after the DNC, I was crying to my husband, and I was telling him that I was sorry, that I felt like I had failed. And I remember him lifting my head and saying, "Baby, you are a stag mom. Don't let this defeat you." And that, like, he was right, because, like, for a lot of you guys, this idea of stag mom is new, but, like, I've been talking about this for years, so it's just a statement in my household. And like I said, he was right. And for whatever reason, that baby just wasn't meant to stick for us. But I'm still a good mom for Lyric, I'm still a good wife for him. I'm still great at all of the other titles and things that I have. I'm still good. And this impossible standard of motherhood tells us that if we don't do everything right, we're failing. The idea of a perfect mom is so toxic. Like, it's toxic to the T. And this idea that If we don't love every moment of motherhood, then we're ungrateful. And that is a whole nother episode, okay? We are definitely going to dive into that because, man. But it tells us that if we, and by it, I mean that impossible standard, tells us that if we don't keep a perfectly clean house, if we don't cook all of our meals from scratch, if we never lose our patience, then we're not good enough, right? Then we're not good moms, good parents. And I definitely believe that that is a lie. Like, that is such a lie. But I still catch myself believing it from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know logically that it's a lie. And I can tell all of my friends and my mom friends that it's a lie and that they're doing great. But I still have to catch myself in believing it from time to time. But let me tell you something. Perfection is not the requirement for being good at what you do. You know what the requirement is? It's love. It's perseverance. It's persistence. It's presence. It's growth. Those are the requirements for being good at what you do. And that means showing up even when it's hard, even when you feel broken. Like my dad always says, enjoy the journey. It's all about the journey. Always. So, how about this? What if we stop chasing perfect and start embracing real? What if we stop judging ourselves by the impossible and started giving ourselves grace? What if we let go of the idea that being a good mom means sacrificing ourselves completely and start believing that we are good enough even when we struggle? Stop looking to social media for the standard. Stop looking to Instagram and TikTok and the stay-at-home moms that do it all to tell you whether you're being a good mom to your kids or not. Your kids, your husband, your house is yours. Do what's best for it, right? That's what I want for myself, and that's what I want for you. No more guilt. No more, I'm not enough. No more believing our worth is measured by how flawless we perform every day, right? We are still good. We are still good people, good moms, good parents, even when we're grieving, even when we have broken moments, even when we need a break, even when we don't have all the answers. We are still good. Okay? And I don't want to make this too churchy, but in Philippians 3:12, the Bible speaks on how growth is a process, all about the journey. And though we can assume that it's in reference to, your spiritual growth, I believe that's true about all growth. All things we do and commit to is a process. It is about the journey of being a parent, being a spouse, being a friend, being whatever you are, not about the destination, not about being perfect. Let's just get rid of that word. Perfect is so, I'm me. And that's all I can be, All right, you guys. So, I don't know. I thought I'd share that little tidbit, that little story with you guys. And I know it's real personal and real deep, but I hope it resonated with somebody. I hope somebody's listening and can connect to what I'm saying. And if this episode did speak to you, if you ever felt the weight of not being enough or not feeling worthy, I want you to take a deep breath and I want you to say this out loud. I am still good. Because you are. And I want you to carry that thought into this next week with you. I'm still good. So when you lose your cool at your kids because they're crying and fussing, tell yourself I'm still good. When your boss pisses you off and you want to cuss them out because they're making you feel like you didn't do a good job this week, tell yourself I'm still good. If you and your husband happen to get into it about something small, apologize to that man and then tell yourself that you are still good. Okay? You're still good. So if you found this episode helpful, please share it with another mom or another friend who needs to hear it. And if you have a story or a struggle or a victory that you want me to share on this platform, then DM me on Instagram at Still a Good Podcast. Or you can meet me in the comments wherever it is you're listening. And I would love to hear from you. I've got some good things planned for y'all next week. A real good show, okay? Me and the hubby are going to sit down. We're going to answer some questions from you guys. And we're going to talk about relationships and our relationships specifically, and blending our family and the ups and the downs. It's going to be a good one, so don't miss it. But until then, give yourself some grace. You're doing better than you think you are. Have a great week.